Hello, and welcome to the Quietly Visible podcast. I'm your host, Carol Stewart, founder of Abounding Solutions and author of Quietly Visible, Leading with Influence and Impact as an Introverted Woman. This is the podcast for introverted women who want to thrive as leaders and in life. And today my guest is Ryan Lassan, and she's the Advanced Accelerator Coach. And since 2012, Ryan has coached nearly 1,000 high-achieving women, specializing in the unique needs of high-achieving Black women to advance their professional dreams by overcoming and healing from the self-limiting mindsets of imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and distractionism. And she understands how frustrating it is to have followed the, and I inverted commas, blueprint to success, only to you secretly lacked the 3 C's, namely clarity, confidence, courage to advance your career or build your dream business on your terms. She knows what it feels like to have done everything right and still feel stuck and trapped, second guessing yourself and your dreams. And she also knows the mindset required to take big, bold action in the face of your fears. And today we're going to be talking about the three essential tools to advance your professional dreams. So hello, Ryan, and welcome.
Hi, Carol. Thank you. Well, thank you for welcoming. That was a wonderful, warm welcome. And thank you to your listening audience for having me as your guest.
It's great to have you here.
Thank
so
you.
Before we delve into the essential tools, tell us a little bit about who you are and some more about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. As I listened to your intro, I was nodding my head like, yeah, all of that feels really very true, very spot on with exactly who I am and exactly the type of person that I support through my coaching and consulting business called Inspire Brand Consulting. And I help individuals, and they tend to be high-achieving Black women that I serve. And that's because I am a high-achieving Black woman. The principles are universal around leaders who, want more. They want, when I say more, a lot of times that means more expression of themselves. They want more of a connection with their passion and their purpose. They want more definition of what their personal brand is. They want more understanding of who they are. That's a lot of the more. And that's often expressed as a promotion or as a leadership role or as advancing. And yet really at the core, it's they want more of themselves. And there are these mindsets that are booby traps for landmines for high achievers, for all people, really. High achievers can really get caught in them, and high achievers want to excel. So it's important for us to really deal with these. And they are imposter syndrome, its twin nemesis, perfectionism. And what I have coined after being in the field for a long time, serving human capital, distractionism, which I've come to understand much later in my life to be perhaps like a description for neurodivergence. It's what I have experienced and what I see with my clients, a real sensitivity to their nervous system. And so that trio can be a real sticking trap for individuals to achieve their dreams. Procrastination, overwhelm, self-doubt, all of those things are symptoms of those self-limiting mindsets. And so I help individuals to learn tools, literal, scientifically developed tools. And I've created an 8-step process that has been proven to help people not only close their confidence gap. We're getting into these 3 essential tools, but my 8 steps help to do that. And they also help to assure that a person really has a sense of who they are. So that is what I do. I'm very passionate about my work. I'm a complete nerd about personal development, about business development, about leadership development, and about spirituality and understanding, how people think and what a mindset is like, what it is and how to support someone really shift it. So that's who I am and what I do. And I really, really do love it.
Oh, great.
And I love helping people.
And what led you to do this work? What was
so
your
it's
journey
interesting.
to this?
Right. So, I'll share that by also answering the question of what are the 3 essential tools separate from the 8 steps. But these are the tools that when a person works with me, whether it's through a workshop, whether it's through a free video, whether it's through this exact conversation, or whether it's through one-to-one coaching, I work with these 3 pieces. One is to help a person close their confidence gap. Okay, so it is not that someone doesn't have confidence. It is that around a particular area, or it's that, within a particular goal that they haven't achieved yet, they are perhaps stuck in a confidence gap, right? And the second is identifying your personal brand. So essentially, who and what is your brilliance? What is your purpose? What is your passion? Who are you? Number 3, it is to help a person really create a lifestyle that is reflective of that brilliance, reflective of their personal brand. So I help people do that. Now, how did I get to that? And how did I get to that kind of clarity? Well, honestly, it actually dials back to my 2 parents. My dad is really a mindset, mindset librarian almost. He, every single book on his shelf is about mindset. It's about spirituality. So I grew up with a parent who was on a quest to understand how a person thinks. And so that was modeled for me. My mom, was in her own right also on a quest for a personal brand. When I say a personal brand, this real sense of who am I as a person and how do I express that through my creativity and through the things that I'm involved in and with, and how do I show up in that light? And that was modeled for me. And interestingly enough, those are 2 of my main pillars. Now, the 3rd pillar, interestingly enough, which is distractionism, or that in terms of living your brilliance, and distractionism is one that can really cause us to move from that. It is my sense of putting those 2 pieces together that creates a person's brilliance. So if you are able to really overcome your mindset in terms of the self-limiting beliefs, and if you're able to have confidence within the things that you want to do, when you're recognizing what your personal brand is and you live with your brilliance shining, you're, walking within your purpose, you are living your personal brand, you have the courage to really talk to yourself in a way that is positive and helpful, then you are in fact living your brilliance. So it's from my childhood, even, I was very much steeped in this idea of helping myself and helping others to move forward. And then how did I get to coaching? That is a completely separate story where I was at a point in my career where I felt like I was being squeezed out, undervalued. What I now know and now understand and completely own, and what I help people recognize when they have that feeling that someone's not valuing your value, it's your time to leap. It's your time to, expand. And oftentimes though, we get stuck in the organization's not value my value. And we can get, again, stuck in that and believe that to be a true mirror of ourselves, because they're not valuing me, I must not be valuable. And I I was quite determined not to internalize that. And so I leapt into owning, and starting my business, and went back to school to Georgetown and received my coaching certificate, and absolutely, love what I do and love supporting people through the power of coaching.
Great story. And before we sort of dig deeper into your free tools, growing up with parents who, as you said, modelled around the mindset and the personal brand, would you say that made it so much more easier for you to be confident and go after what you want and know who you are and know your brand? Or did you face challenges as well?
Yeah, so that's such a great question, because it's a both and, right? Yes. So in many ways, absolutely. I mean, when I look back at my career, there's a strong through line of supporting people live their brilliance, the confidence, helping people in all of those ways. And yet, if someone were to look at my resume, they would be like, how did you go from teaching elementary school to, first of all, my major was sociology. So I went from, sociology study to teaching to nonprofit work. I left both of those fields, the education field, went into doing event planning. I have a certificate in that, and then went into aesthetics. So I have a background. Also, I have a licensing as an esthetician. I worked in a medical spa and then moved into pharmaceutical sales, and then moved back into education. This is all before I was 30. And so along the way with each of those, I was deeply into them and deeply confident that this is the expression of me. This is who I am. I'm gaining this tool. Each time I found a new passion, it registered very strong with me that I want to pursue this. And I was very clear about that. Now, what was so interesting about each of those is that, again, the through line was very clear. I wanted to support people. None of those different career paths, all of them were as if, maybe because it's Halloween and I have a little 5-year-old and she's so excited about trick-or-treating. I have this idea of along my journey, my career journey, I was trick-or-treating. I was getting all of these candies. I got all of these skills. And now in my coaching business, I'm eating all this delicious candy, and I get to use all of these skills. So in a way, yes, very confident. Now also, this is so much what I deal with, helping my clients deal with individually, is the shadow. We all of our strengths have shadows, right? One of the shadows of mindset and one of the shadows of personal brand is there's a strong through line of those 3 mindsets that I talked about. Imposter syndrome is something that I have strongly and deeply dealt with. Perfectionism is something that, if I am not mindful every single moment of the day, is a self-limiting mindset that has such a sneaky way of being ever present. It is the ever present elephant in the room. And distractionism. I have a very sensitive nervous system. I learned in my 40s that I was diagnosed with ADHD. So those 3, and ADHD, I want to be very clear, is not a self-limiting belief by any means, which is, I coined distractionism 7 years before I knew that I even had ADHD. And that's because of how it was presenting in my life, and as it was presenting undiagnosed, and, for me, and how it presents in many, many, many of my clients, which is this very strong ability to do a deep dive into a subject. And yet also there is a very strong tendency to feel very scattered, to feel all the feelings and to hold all of that. And so I answer your question with a both and. Yes, growing up being modeled mindset and questioning and, provocative questions and things like that. And also this idea of living, identifying who you are and living that also meant, strong drive for perfection. And with the sensitive nervous system, it was very complicated. And I'm happy to share, any complicated stories. In fact, if you would you like to hear a story about how perfectionism was like,
yes,
okay,
please.
like dead in the face. Okay. So then I always check, and there's so many. This is one. So one is I'm well into my career as a coach, as a business owner. As a business owner, I do all the things. I have to do all my social media, and a lot of the business side of things, can feel, because I'm a human, can feel very overwhelming and very overtaxing and like, oh, it's all so new and so big. And so owning a business has literally inflamed my self-limiting beliefs. They're like on fire a lot of times. So, here I am, I was, having to do, I was launching a course, and with launching a course, I had to do a whole social media campaign with that. And which meant I needed to get on video and okay. So as you can see, my energy already is like, oh my gosh, I have to do that. Okay. So here I am. It was a Friday. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was a Friday. And it the context for me too is I'm like 7 months pregnant at this time. And I'm supposed to, on that day, do the recording of my video. I'm like, it's okay. Today is the day I'm going to do this. And so I'm like, oh gosh. All right. I look around, I go online to I'm Instagram. I'm like, okay, let me just kind of get situated on how I want sort of this to look. What are other people's sort of backgrounds looking like? And I looked at my background. Now I've done lots of videos, right? This is not new, but now that I didn't want to do this, the point is that this is invoking some perfectionism within me. Now this is all happening, in real time, and I'm not necessarily noticing, oh, this is perfectionism. What I'm feeling is irritated. I'm feeling agitated. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling dragging my heels. I'm looking for other things to do. I'm feeling like this isn't perfect enough. This background, this sucks. This isn't enough. People aren't going to take this seriously. I've got to do this. This has got to be right. Let me go to Home Goods to see if there's a better couch that I can maybe look at, or maybe it's just something that could be better than this. Or so this is how hypnotic thoughts are. I get in the car. Now, if you've ever been, I'm sorry. That's for US context. Home Goods is a store that, it's a store that has homeware. It's things that department stores don't sell. And so then they sell it like a second reseller. However, the point of a Home Goods is you go get the things, you put it in your car and you go home. There's no delivery service. I'm going specifically for a couch. I'm 7 months pregnant. There's no way, one, that I'm going to find the couch I'm looking for. I don't even need, where am I going to put a couch? Two, how am I going to pick up a couch and put it in the car to get it home? None of this is making sense. And yet all of this is sweeping me to the store. And then I get home and I feel like I'm now at the weekend. Monday comes, I clean up my office because that has to be done before I do this video. Tuesday comes, Tuesday morning, I have a call with my coach, and I'm very excited to tell her that I wrote the script for the video, but I haven't done the video yet because I thought I needed this couch because the background wasn't good enough. And she was like, Ryan, do you hear? I was like, what? She's like, perfectionism is just right. Oh my goodness. Right. So but it shows up as life. It doesn't show up as oh, I'm trying to be perfect. It shows up as this isn't perfect enough. And so I've got to do all these things that really are not priorities. It's not reality. The reality is that I was already enough to push record on the video. The truth, and that was the big R reality. My small R reality, fear-based reality, was you're not enough. And I got blindsided by that self-limiting belief, and it swept me away. And that's what happens. And I help people to get more conscious of, this is what's happening to me. These are my symptoms of this. Here are my tools, and here's how I'm going to overcome this. And that's also why I keep myself in coaching, because she helps me do that for myself. I am a human being. I do this profoundly well for other people and profoundly well for myself. And I have other people who are profound in their gift. One of my 8 steps is building a brilliance team. It's building your capacity. It is, do you have a team of people who delight in serving you? Do you have a chiropractor if you have joint issues? Do you have an acupuncturist if you have that could be helpful for everyone. Do you have a therapist? Do you have a dry cleaners? Do you have do you have services that are supportive of you and your rhythm? So do you have a coach? Do you have multiple coaches depending on your goals? So, yes, I keep myself in coaching. So that is a story of how perfectionism, one story.
A good example of how perfectionism can take a hold, and it is something that I see time and time again amongst introverted women leaders. And you talked earlier about imposter syndrome and perfectionism hand in hand. And one of the things that I see a lot with introverted women leaders is, and also women who are also in the minority to the dominant group in organization, they're more likely to experience imposter syndrome than those who are in the dominant group. And that a lot of that is to do not only just with their own self-limiting beliefs, but also with the environment as well.
Absolutely.
And so being able to recognize it is so important, that is what is going on for you. And I just sort of think that your example of the couch it illustrates it really well, of how our minds can just run away thinking that, well, we're not good enough, we're not perfect enough. And so we go out there 7 months pregnant to carry a big couch in your car on your own. And we can sit and laugh about this, but when you're experiencing that, it can be very stressful.
Yes, very, very, because then you look up and you say, why am I not doing the things that I say I want to do? What's happening? And the truth is that, well, there's so many truths. One truth is that we are human beings by design. That is who and what we are. And by this design, we have a subconscious mind that occupies 95% of who and what we are. 95% of the decisions that we make, why we make the decisions, how we make the decisions, all of those things take place in the subconscious mind. We are blinded to it. We're absolutely hypnotized, blinded to our habits. Our thoughts are habits. 90% of your thoughts are the same thoughts as yesterday. So we are thinking the same thoughts that we had when we were 5, 6, 7-year-olds around some very, very, very specific things like money, around our ability to succeed, around our worthiness, around our value in life. Were we modeled to value our value? Were we modeled to question who we were? Were we modeled to be anxious? Were we, in environments that supported our nervous systems? Were we lived lives, and we now are, programmed, and we aren't even aware of what our programming is. And most of us aren't taught to be mindful. I didn't grow up with that word even in my vocabulary. What does that even mean to be mindful? And so we're not aware of why we make the decisions. We're not aware of why we're afraid. We're not aware of, in that moment, I was not aware of why am I not doing the thing? Oh, it's because something about being recorded makes you feel vulnerable, and that doesn't feel good. And all that's happening in the background, you're not tapped into that. And yet it's running the show. And what you're experiencing though is, I don't want to do this. This doesn't really feel good. We do what we feel, not what we know. I know I should do this. I know I should do this. Now I'm shaming myself. And now I know I should do this. And now I feel really bad. And now I need a release. So I'm going to go to the store to see if I can find, do you know, and this is life. This is life. And it happens in the background. And it, like, we don't even know, you know, until we really begin to tap in. And coaching is such a profound way, because I'm now explaining, I'm sharing with, how are you? What's going on? I'm sharing with my coach. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I did. This was my goal. And then she's, you know, I'm at the center of the conversation for 45 minutes. Well, peel back again. What happened? What did you say? Where did, and what were you thinking? And what do you notice? And what is it? And what, oh, and what's the patterning? And this is what I do with my, and what do you see? And what, you know, and so when you have someone asking you those kinds of questions, what you do is you stop spinning, right? That's what I was doing for those 4 days. I was spinning until that coaching conversation, I grounded myself in, like, oh my God, what am I doing? Right.
And
I'm
that's
not afraid
the beauty of coaching. It holds, it's like it holds up a mirror so that you see and reflect on what it is that you're saying, what it is that you're thinking, what it is that you're doing, and that helps increase the self-awareness. And so picking up on the continuing with the 3 tools, so that the imperfectionism, the imposter syndrome, the perfectionism, that all leads into that confidence gap in terms of the effect that can have on us. And so looking at your 3 tools, confidence gap, personal branding, and having a lifestyle that is reflective of that brand. So how would people, how do you sort of show people how to go about putting those into practice?
Absolutely. So it's really through those 8 steps. And I'll share the first 3, because these are the 3 foundations. This is like the triangle of really, you know, advancing, moving forward in your mindset. So the first is clarity, and it's clarity in 2 parts. The first is getting really clear on what you want. So often we are bombarded by the wants of others. We're bombarded by, again, much of this is happening in the 95%. We don't even know why am I in the career that I'm in? Why am I in the role that I'm in? Do I want to be here? Do I even like this? Is this my goal? Is this someone else's goal? Did I just wind up here? Do I want to do this thing? Is this interesting to me? Claire, what is it that you want? What is it? So that's the first thing. Now, what happens is when we want something, because again, we have this human design, there's 80% of our thoughts are fear-based, false evidence appearing real. And that is to protect us. That's the point. Humans are supposed to survive. That's like baseline. All right. So 80% of your thoughts are going to be like, don't do that. That's not a good idea. What will they say? Uh-oh, you're going to fail. So we've got to learn how to navigate that. Now, if you're a high achiever and it feels like, quote unquote, the stakes are high for you, or that you're on a pedestal and things are, you know, you got a lot of eyeballs on you, we might be in 85, 90% of those thoughts being fear-based, because, you know, your volume might be way turned up. And if we're talking about people who have any sense of feeling like an imposter or any sense of perfectionism, and lo and behold, you have a sensitive nervous system, you're inflamed. Okay. So it's real, we're talking about a lot of fear around some really good ideas. And so we have these 2 parts. We got to get clear on what do we want? We got to get clear on what is scaring us. What is the fear? What is it saying? What are you telling yourself? Because you talk to yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. And we just said we don't even know what we say. So the boogeyman is out there. You've got in your brain, you've got to get clear on what is scary for you. So that's all about clarity. 2 parts, A and B, clarity. Number 2 is about courage. We have got to have the courage. You have got to have the courage to, there's a great book with this title, The Courage to Be Disliked. Now, that doesn't mean, this is so important, it doesn't mean that you go out and you try to be disliked. What it does mean is that you have the courage to be disliked, that you have the courage to tell yourself that no matter what anybody's opinion is about you, that you value yourself, that you have worth. And that's the level of conversation that you have within yourself. It doesn't matter this person isn't nice to me, because my value doesn't come from their kindness. My value comes from me demonstrating who I am, right? So that's courage to reframe the stuff that is in our brains. And, when I'm on my coaching calls, I call that stuff the explicitive F word and the explicitive S word. Those two put together is what that stuff is. That's like the stuff you got to really muck through, right? That's the courage to reframe self-limiting beliefs. Number 3 is confidence. Having the confidence to move forward. This is not fake it till you make it, because the idea is that it's not fake. The idea is that it's practicing doing. And as adults, we have this idea, again, not all adults, but adults particularly who are plagued with perfectionism. Perfectionism isn't, I want all my pencils lined up in a row. Perfectionism is, I'm holding myself back until my idea is perfect. Okay. And that is an aim that is an ever moving, never, ever clear target. So we have to have the confidence to practice, to do over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where we become the doing, we become it. And so those 3 pieces, clarity in those 2 parts, what you want and what you're afraid of, the courage to reframe self-limiting beliefs, and the confidence to move forward, those 3 things are going to help somebody with their mindset, help somebody advance.
Great advice. Thank you for sharing. And so if people want to find out more about the rest of those steps, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 things. I offer actually 2 free opportunities lots of free opportunities to connect. But one is to take a quiz that I offer. Think of like just like a magazine kind of quiz. And it will give you a sense based on how you answer the questions of which one of those 3 mindsets may be, again, based on how you answer the questions, may be the most present for you. It's no diagnostic tool. It's just a fun quiz to get a sense of what those 3 mindsets are and how they can really wreak havoc, particularly amongst high achievers around setting and achieving your goals. The second way that we can connect is, I have listened to many podcasts and I have been moved by people, and I wanted to say, how do I get in touch with them, or how do I continue the conversation? If you would like to connect for a discovery call, a complimentary discovery call, to talk about how any of the things I have shared with you today are either rattling with you or resonating with you, or provoking interest or causing some kind of emotional reaction, would love to connect with you and share the opportunity to, help you get clear on what that is, and also talk to you about how I can support you really heal from those self-limiting beliefs so that you can advance within your professional dreams.
Right. So listeners, if what Ryan has shared resonates with you, then do reach out to her. And I will put links in the show notes so that you can contact her, connect with her.
Absolutely.
So
and that's,
Ryan.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Carol. That's just at my website, Inspire Brand Consulting. I did forget to say that part. And www.inspirebrandconsulting.com is where you can find both of those offers.
Yeah. And the link will be in the show notes. So, thank you, Ryan, for coming and sharing. And it's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol, and to your listening audience. It's been wonderful.
And listeners, if you want to increase your confidence, influence, and impact, and you haven't completed the assessment on my website, go to aboundingsolutions.com. And thank you for listening. And until the next time, bye.